Welcome to Create More Intimacy, a podcast for men. I'm Elisa Stoddard, and I help successful men stop chasing sex and start building real connection so they finally feel close, connected, and wanted again. If you are listening to this right now, I want you to know something. This is a heavy season. It's heavy for a lot of people, even when everything on the outside looks fine. There's pressure to show up, to hold things together, to be steady, and at the same time, there's often a quiet awareness of what is not working, what feels strained, or what feels like it's missing in your relationship. You can be doing all the things right and still feel unsettled. You can be surrounded by people and still feel alone in your thoughts. There are questions that sit under the surface in moments like this. They don't usually get said out loud, but they do shape how you react, how hard you try, or how much you pull back. Welcome to episode 35, 3 questions I know you're carrying this week. So your first question might be, can this actually be repaired? This is usually the first question that shows up. Not as a dramatic thought, not as a decision, but as a quiet concern that lingers in the background. You wonder, can this actually be repaired, or is this just how it is now? Most men don't sit around asking themselves that directly. It comes out in smaller moments, in the hesitation before starting a conversation, in the calculation of whether it's worth bringing something up, in the way you brace yourself for how an interaction might go. You notice the distance, you notice the tension, you notice how easy it is to slip into logistics and avoid anything that might turn into conflict. And over time, a question forms. Is this fixable? Or am I expecting something that isn't realistic anymore? What usually makes this question so heavy is that it usually comes after effort, after you've tried being patient or working harder, or you've let things go. You've tried not making a big deal out of what hurts. And when none of that creates real closeness, it starts to feel discouraging. Not just about the relationship, but what your effort means. A lot of men quietly wonder if the window for repair has already passed, if they missed something, if they waited too long, if this is the version of the relationship that they're supposed to accept. What I want you to hear is this. The presence of this question doesn't mean your relationship is beyond repair. It means that you care. It means that you are aware. It means that you're paying attention to something that matters to you. Repair doesn't start with the right words or the right strategy. It starts with understanding what's actually happening underneath the distance, and most couples never slow down enough to look at that. They stay busy. They stay polite to one another, or they stay stuck in the same arguments. And that keeps the question alive. Can this actually be repaired? We're going to keep coming back to that as we move through the next couple of questions, because they're all connected. But for now, I want you to notice something. If you're asking this question, you haven't given up, and that matters. So number 2, why does it feel like I'm either trying so hard or I'm disappearing entirely? This question usually shows up after the first one has been sitting there for a while. You're not sure if things can be repaired, so you start adjusting how you show up. Some men respond by trying harder. They initiate more. They explain themselves more. Or they work longer hours. They do more around the house. They push themselves to be better or calmer or more patient or more understanding. They're trying to matter. And when that effort doesn't change the emotional distance, they start to feel invisible. Like all of that energy just disappears into the relationship without landing anywhere. Other men respond by pulling back. They stop bringing things up. They stop trying to have conversations because they feel too risky. They spend more time at work or doing hobbies or alone in their head. I want you to know, I know it's not because they don't care, but because caring has started to feel really discouraging. For a lot of men, it swings between the two. They try hard, then they disappear. Then they try again, and then they pull back some. What's important to understand is that both of these responses come from the same place. You're trying to manage the discomfort of feeling unwanted, unappreciated, or unsure of where you stand. Neither approach is wrong necessarily. They're understandable, they're human. But over time, this pattern quietly reshapes the relationship. When you're trying hard, it can start to feel like the marriage revolves around whether your effort is noticed or returned. And when you start pulling back, it can feel like you don't fully exist in the relationship at all. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, frustration and resentment starts to build. After all, you didn't get married to feel like you had to earn your place. And you didn't imagine a relationship where the safest move was to just simply disappear. This is also where men start to make their marriage about themselves without realizing it. Not in a selfish way, but in a protective way. You're tracking effort, you're tracking her response, you're constantly checking whether you're doing enough or too much, and that mental load is exhausting. If this question resonates, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not failing in your marriage. You're responding to uncertainty, and uncertainty, when it goes unaddressed, always shows up in patterns like this. Number 3, what does this say about me? This question is usually the quietest. It doesn't come with a lot of words. It shows up as a feeling you don't quite name. You don't know what this is. You notice that something lands harder than it should, that the rejection feels more personal, even when you tell yourself to not take it that way. That disappointment sticks with you longer than expected, and eventually a meaning starts to form. It's not conscious. It's not deliberate either. It's just this subtle wondering about what this all says about you. Am I asking for too much? Am I missing something everyone else seems to get? Why does this matter so much to me? Most men don't frame it as a question about worth or lovability. They frame it as frustration or resignation or self-criticism, but underneath it is a very human desire to feel chosen, to feel wanted and secure with the person who matters most to you. When that's uncertain, it doesn't just affect how you feel about the relationship. It affects how you feel about yourself inside of the relationship. This is the part most men carry alone. Not because they don't have words, but because they're not sure it's allowed to matter this much. If this question resonates, I want you to hear something clearly. The fact that this still hurts doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It means that this connection matters a lot to you. It's not weak. It's a signal. If you've listened and quietly nodded along, that makes sense. These 3 questions tend to travel together. Can this be repaired? Why does it feel like I'm always coming up short? And what does this say about me? These questions don't mean that something is wrong with you or your marriage, for that matter. They mean you're paying attention to something that does matter to you. Most men carry these questions privately. They keep functioning, they keep showing up, they keep moving forward, but the questions remain. If there is anything I hope you take from this episode, it is this. You are not alone in carrying them, and you're not unusual for having them. Awareness is often the first quiet shift. Not answers, not action steps, just recognition. So as you move through the next few days, notice what comes up. Notice what you feel tempted to push down or explain away. You don't have to do anything with this right now. Just notice and let it be named. Have a great week. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being here. If something in this episode hit home, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It helps more men find the support they need. And if you are ready to get help or take the next step, you'll find the link to book a free call in the show notes. I'll see you next time.